Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Green Factor, a show where we talk about green design and the business of sustainability. I'm your host, Haris, the Green Carpenter, and today we'll be talking about understanding the conscious consumer. With me today, we have a special guest. And before I introduce the guest, I would like to say hello from Dubai. I'm I'm in Dubai right now, as you have been following some of my posts, and it's sunny and windy and a bit cold here. So this is the first show I'm doing internationally. So looking forward to having you guys today. With me today, I have Mrs. Melissa Tan. She's a zero waste activist and advocate, and we met like few months ago, right? During a
Yeah.
PNB meeting. Hi, Melissa.
Hey, how are you? Hey, Hart. Hey, everyone. Good to see y'all.
So I invited Melissa to the show because I feel like it's important for us to understand a little bit more about what's been happening in these past few years in terms of the consumer side. I always talk about more on the business side because we want more businesses to approach sustainability, but I found like it's difficult if you want to approach this without actually knowing what the mindset and the thought process be for the consumer. So Melissa, thank you very much for coming in today. Husna said hi. Hi Husna, thank you for tuning in. And we have from Facebook as well that says hi. I cannot see your name here, but it's okay. Thank you very much for tuning in. So, Melissa, before we go into the topic, which is understanding the conscious consumer, for the benefit of the listener, can you share a little bit about your journey and what you have been doing right now?
Happy to. Hey, everyone. I'm Melissa. I'm a regular person, born and bred in Kuala Lumpur. I guess, like a lot of you, it started with just curiosity. I've always been an environmentalist as a kid, a huge animal lover, and I knew that nature and animals are interlinked. If you don't protect nature, you don't protect the animals. So then, it was always like a matter of, we all grew up with like the three R's, recycle, recycle, recycle. If you care, you recycle, and that's the responsible thing to do. But, growing up, it was always about, learning more and more about what recycling really meant and what the plastic pollution and the problems of the world were. And over the years, I'm sure everyone's very familiar with this. It just got worse and worse. We were always inundated with bad news, looking at, the climate disaster, looking at mass depopulation and extinction of animals. It's very discouraging for all of us. And we're always stuck in this place where we're waiting for something to happen. We're waiting for something else, someone else to take action, for a big savior to come in, for a government to take action on something, for industries to take action on all of these issues. So it always comes back to a waiting game for us. And then at one point, I just figured, what am I doing? I've been waiting since I was a kid. I was waiting since I was, 12, 13 years old, recycling, and nothing has changed over the last few decades, except, time has passed and we've lost more. So I decided to, be a part of action. And a lot of that involves not just creating conversation and enlightening people on all these things that are happening, but how we can take action as well. Because it's very important for us to localize the context of climate action. I think, Harith, you and I have been chatting about this as well, about how a lot of our examples and Western focused perspectives has always been about idealizing what happens overseas, what innovations happen overseas. But we actually don't need innovation. All we need are process and system changes. And all of these are little bits and pieces that happens based on what individuals take action, whether they're a person, a kid, whether they're a mother, whether they're a business owner, an employee. All of these things can happen. And it takes initiative, not innovation. Innovation obviously plays a huge part of it. But initiative just to implement and introduce and make shifts in the way that we do things, that's more important, I feel. So I guess, my journey has gone from, not just talking about awareness, but then how do we take action? How do we change the culture? How do we make green mainstream? That's that's really what I want to do. Um, uh, and what I've really focused on.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much for being part of the journey, Melissa. The next question would be like, why sustainability is important to you? Yes, so the story is a little bit, but just a bit more on how this is important to you. Why do you advocate for it?
I think this question has, like we always ask why is sustainability important to the person. But I think it's important for us to focus on why is sustainability important to all of us. You know, things can only get worse until we take action. Inequality will continue to widen. The poorest among us will continue to be suppressed. We will continue to see the climate disaster happen and impact all of us very gradually, but it very quickly as well. So I think there is a really huge imperative for all of us to take action. I'm not sure what we're waiting for. I think humans, we tend to be stuck in our comfort zones in how we do things. This is how we do things. This is how we do business. This is how we make money. This is how we survive. And I totally get all of that. But it always has a cost towards our future. And unfortunately, we're paying that cost right now, or other people are paying it for us. So I think it's like sedikit-sedikit lama-lama jadi bukit, right? Whatever action we take now, that's going to pay off for our future. So that's why sustainability should be important to all of us, because unfortunately, the bill is due, the debt has to be paid.
So yeah, I think like it's not a work of one person. So a collective effort is really needed, especially at this point of time. We need everyone to pull their weight, all the stakeholders,
Yeah.
and that is when I feel like the awareness in Malaysia is there, but there is an issue of um, availability. If I want to buy something sustainable, is it available? Is it something in the market? And also affordability. People always think that green products are expensive, right? So my question to you next is like, what is your consideration when consuming products or service, or what trend are you seeing as well?
Really love what you spoke about there. I mean, the fact that it's all a collective effort. I feel like when it comes to consuming products and services, you're right. Like affordability and availability is always the main concerns, but it is not a. It's like it's a bit of like a chicken and egg situation. It's not about waiting for businesses to be able to provide a service in a certain way before we can consume it. We can demand it as the demand. It's all economic supply demand. If there's a demand for it, there will be a supply to meet it. So I think that also is an opportunity for all of us, especially like within the zero waste community. Always making suggestions, asking for things to be different within businesses and what other things they can do, connecting them to resources to be able to change the way that businesses supply things to us as well. So I think it has to be a two-way conversation. And that conversation, when we think about conversations with customers, I think we always think about like, oh, what are you complaining about today? But actually, like the hive mind of your consumers is so powerful because they know things that maybe you have missed out. They know like a supplier that you may not have known, or they have a suggestion that you could might be a very low hanging fruit for a business that they can like implement immediately and like be able to save a lot of waste, for example, or cost associated with that waste as well. So I guess when my consideration when consuming products and services and speaking about these products and services is how impactful are the changes they're making? Is this performative or does this signal a shift in their business model? I think we know within our community, Harith, especially you being one part of it and highlighting so many other of our friends here in the social business community, a lot of them built the business from the ground up with the values that they believe in. And I know that's not easy for all businesses because a business is a moving engine. You can't just stop the train and like, wait, let me like make everything sustainable first. It doesn't work that way, right? It has to be like gradual changes. But I guess how honest is that shift? Is it performative? Is it just because you want to target, oh, this is like a new conscious consumer segment? Or does this actually signal what you want your business to be and how you can better encapsulate the values and live through it? So, for example, like a really large sport apparel company, I'm sure like once I mention what the next thing everyone will know what I'm talking about. Recycled polyester is obviously not for example, with apparel, recycled polyester is not the answer. I know it isn't, but it's a transitioning ground, right? And within the next 2 years, they've already had like 60% of their current polyester shift to recycled polyester. And this only happened in the last 2 years. And then in the next 2 years, they're going to have the entire business model be recycled polyester. Great transition goals, and I'm sure it's not easy. They've made heavy investments in like supporting social businesses and solutions. So I think it's like you can still operate in that space, but how ambitious and how far can you go, rather than just saying, hey, we don't have plastic bags, please pat us on the back. Yeah.
So yeah, you talked about like some companies what they're doing, but do you have any example of the companies that you love and support, and what do they do right? You feel?
I think like there are many good companies. I know like everyone has a different view on this, and I'm not like saying that businesses are easy to change, because I really like, I know you're like business owners must have like a million things to think about, like surviving and being able to pay their workers and all of those things. Sometimes sustainability is like lower on your mind, but I think like if everything it's an investment, right? Shifting your business is an investment in itself, and unfortunately, that has a cost to it. But it's going to pay off, because, like, I guess the the relationship with the customer, especially for a customer like me and other conscious consumers, is going to be a lot more sticky, rather than trying to battle it out there with every other business that's trying to push the prices down. We're going to relate to you more, and I think we are searching for businesses like yours, and with people. And I know, like, because that you have a Malaysian audience, is Malaysian business owners. We want to support Malaysians, and we want to see how you support other Malaysians. And we're just waiting for the opportunity, and we're open to, like, speak with you and communicate with you to see how we can build a better business community, and a stronger, like, conscious consumer environment for everyone as well. And I guess when it comes to businesses that I admire, it's all about not just ambitious goals, but progress reports, transparency. So, like, the gold standard for a lot of these is, like, for example, B Corps. B Corps, they don't. It's harder and harder to get certified, because more and more businesses want to be certified as B Corps. But it's not just paying money and then, like, yeah, give me that. Like, they the progress that they have to demonstrate is considerable. So I think, I don't think everyone has to be a B Corp, but to emulate those values and to be transparent with your customer, instead of focusing too much on just marketing and cherry picking. Because I think, like, in this world where everyone is a brand and every brand is also sort of a personality, we want to have that honesty and honesty between each other. So that's what I would look for in a business.
Awesome, awesome. um, so now I want to go a little bit more about your you. So I know it's hard to maintain a sustainable lifestyle, but so businesses need to solve issues, right? So we want to see what challenges are for a day-to-day life of a conscious consumer. So can you share a little bit about your challenge in maintaining a sustainable lifestyle?
Um, I actually don't have. I know this sounds silly, but I don't really see them as challenges. Because sustainable living has been quite rewarding for me. It has always been about community rather than consumption, and redefining what consumption is like for an individual or like a family or whatever. Um, it's about how we can meet needs without incurring more environmental impact than we need to. So I think my point here is that I'm kind of like MacGyver or any zero waste or like environmentally conscious person. They're just like MacGyver. They're trying to survive in a world and create all these little systems for themselves where they can meet their needs with incurring as little impact as they can. So I think if you as a business can provide solutions for that, that is we're like whole hog, like happy to come and support you. And I think one of the ways that is demonstrated is like, for example, the first zero waste zero waste shop in Kuala Lumpur was the Hive. That was, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. That's when I started living zero waste as well. And in the past, in the past 4 or 5 years, did you see like how many zero waste stores is in every community now, is in every neighborhood? And it's because it meets like a very basic need. Like, let me not try to sell you something that is eco-friendly, but what are your basic needs and how can I meet them? How can I create community for you? And I think that's the part that I feel like business owners also have like a really powerful place to be in, opportunity to be in, is how can you create community and connect resources for a wider and wider segment of the Malaysian market, which want to take climate action, which want to improve their lives, which want to do better. So I think like such examples, such as you know how do we get food, how do we package that food, what refill solutions can you provide, how can you, using your existing business, provide for someone who wants to, for example, eliminate their waste. So even if your food, like food comes in a lot of packaging, for example, if someone wants to spend with you, for example, if I want to spend with you, I would stop myself from spending with you because I know how much packaging you use. But if you reduce your packaging, switch over to something that's more responsible or at least less harmful, and provide refill solutions that encourage them. For example, I know with coffee shops, they have like the card. But what if that card, like the most brilliant thing I've ever seen, it's so simple. A coffee cart that rewards you every, how you like chop, 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 chop. Today there are 10 coffee cups, it's like free. But that coffee cart only exists for people who bring their own cups, and not use their disposable cup. So, creating that environment and creating that um, suggesting those opportunities for people to take action instead of like, oh, if you ask me only, I give you la kind of situation. I think that's how we would really like to support you as consumers. Yeah, so that's what I can think of at this moment. I'm just going on and on, but there'll be like 8 other things, I'm sure.
Sure, sure. Purani said, thank you for the conversation. Thank you, Purani, for tuning in. Um, um, uh, just to touch a little bit on what you've said, like when I want to do sustainable business, I first a lot of people understanding is more on the material side, but as we delve deeper into the sustainability, we are seeing it's not just about the material, it's all about the process. So we look at the glue that we use, the coating that we use, the packaging, the
Yeah.
people that make the community. There's a lot of element that I feel like is very important for us to look into. And this is where I feel that the conversation need to change from just material to more of the idea. Like you've touched on zero waste, you've touched on and sustainability. Actually, the best way to have the least impact is not to consume, right?
Yeah.
So it's against what businesses are. Businesses want people to consume, but I think it's not about people not consuming. People will always consume. You will always need tables, chair, food. You need to consume, but how you consume with the least impact is what we want. Like for example, I don't buy a lot of shirt. I wear green shirt most of the time. So one, I save money. Two, I minimize the impact that I have. So I think businesses have to look it in a way that their products needs to cater to this demand. For example, like having longer lasting products rather than single use. We make like we were having problem in terms of packaging. We use a lot of single use packaging. Even though it's paper, it's still like a waste, right? So we
Yeah.
decided to move towards fabric packaging. So we use kain batik to wrap our products. So at least the products after they use, they can use it as napkin or other things. So it's those kind of things that we need to look into, that I feel like needs to be more. We need to talk more about that lah. So following up to that, I want you to talk about a little bit more about greenwashing on and your perception of the greenwashing.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That was actually my next point as well. Greenwashing is always, it's always closely linked to businesses when it comes to environmentalism. I think it's not, it's hard to extract away from that. What was your point earlier about? I wanted to also address what you just said about packaging. Sometimes it's like, just instead of trying to replace packaging, what if you just remove it completely? The customer, once you communicate it to them, like, hey, we didn't want to incur this impact, and we feel like it doesn't add to experience. So thank you for saving this amount of CO2 because we skipped the packaging. Instead of trying to, oh, like, is paper better? Is this better? Is that better? Will this be reused? Will it not? Because again, like, the environmental impact, once it's incurred, it also depends on the use cycle, right? And I think, like, a lot of times when people think of packaging, if they think, if I make it reusable, therefore it will be reused, but that's not a guarantee. There's also been like this influx of like reusable things in the market because they, like, people tend to associate it with being environmentally responsible, but reusable is only environmentally responsible if it's reused. And if we have 100 things to reuse when we only need one, that means 99 of them aren't being reused. So I just want to highlight that point because I think it's because it's a common trend, right? When everyone switches their, and I don't mean it's wrong, because I love how you're highlighting batik culture and, like, supporting the batik industry that way as well. I think that's very important to be able to you know um, provide that space for our artisans. Really important. So I'm thinking about all these, like, um, China made cloth bags that were, suspicious cotton coming from probably Uyghur, slave labor. All of this is becoming more and more common, just because it has the word reusable attached to it. So then that brings us to greenwashing. Sometimes just using a term and then interpreting that term in the most literal way is not going to actually make much of an impact. I guess it always comes back to the impact that this actually makes. Are we actually reducing impact by this gesture that we're doing? So I think with greenwashing, people always describe it as where more marketing dollars are happening than the actual impact that's being done. Um, and that's it's been frustrating for a lot of consumers to have to wade through greenwashing because it just requires us to get more and more educated, and a lot of people, we don't have. It takes time for us to gain that kind of knowledge and awareness. Same like myself, I always have to like read and like look into things and like see how different people interpret it, and then like read out like what does this actually mean, what is the impact of it. Not many people will have that, maybe that passion or that time to be able to do that. So then like it comes back to people like me or other conscious consumers or other advocates and activists to be able to translate that information so that more people are aware that, oh, this is greenwashing, this is greenwashing, this is greenwashing. So I think it's also really, but I think it will be really beneficial if businesses also take a step forward and get in front of it, be transparent about it. Hey, this is what we've been doing with our packaging, and we feel like this isn't right, so we want to do better. This thing that we're switching to, it's not a perfect solution. For example, paper. We are switching to paper bags, but we want to tell you that paper still has an impact. This is what we try to do with our paper. But if you could skip the paper, even better. Then we would have saved all of it. It's trying not to come off as, hey, we're perfect, we're sustainable now because we did this one thing. That's not true. No business is actually sustainable. Even though we call them sustainable businesses, everything incurs an impact. So I think it's about being a part of that conversation and education of your customers as well, being upfront about it, because I think, of course, like every business is pressured to look perfect, like we are the best one, we are the most sustainable one, but people, consumers, as they become more aware, they are going to smell that, and they're also going to be able to differentiate, because again, even in the even in the environmental space, there's competition, right? So if I see you say this and then I see another business do 8 times more, then there's a comparison. So are you actually sustainable? Then it opens all those questions for the consumer as well. So just get in front of it. I think people appreciate that transparency and honesty. Communicate your struggles, because I think a lot of some businesses do this really well, like being able to say, hey, we've tried to source this, but it's been hard. Of course, sourcing is the worst part, right? For any business. And at least people like can see that you're making an earnest effort, and it isn't just about trying to take a quick fix solution and try to sell it to us as sustainable. At least that's what I
Yeah.
feel as a consumer.
Yeah. I think a lot of what you're saying I agree with. One of the things that people thought that if you choose to be a sustainable business, people will buy from you. That is not entirely the case. Maybe they will buy once to support, but if your
Yeah.
product is not good, it doesn't solve a problem, it won't go far. So in terms of operations, people always say like they wanted to go into social enterprise or sustainable business. I always tell them, if you do a normal business, maybe you have to think about 10,000 things. But if you want to do a cost based business, you need to think about 20,000 things. So it's a lot, it's additional. It's not just because you're doing that, people will support you. So these are the conversation, like I love what you say about reusable as well, and how it's actually might not be a good idea as well. But these are the conversation we need to have, because we need different perspective from different background to discuss all these things. And not every solution is suitable for each company, and this is why I feel we need to have further discussion, further sharing in terms of what other people are doing, and so that we can benefit, consumer can benefit, and businesses can benefit. So to conclude the show, Melissa, I need one more. You've touched about this a lot in it, but just to summarize, like how businesses can improve to cater to conscious consumer.
I think speak to a conscious consumer, and then meet, and then even like even to do like, what do you call that, a focus group, for example, a focus group, just with your favorite customers, and to see like what are their concerns when it comes to um, the environment, when it comes to their business, and how can they support it better. I can tell you, like, there's so many good ideas from your customers, because like sometimes it's like just all of us thinking together. You don't have to think yourself. You are a part of a community because you are a business, and your customer, that's a relationship right there. So if you make sustainability, a pillar, not just an afterthought, and to see how you can weave it into your business. Um, yeah, just don't stop at Earth Day. Just brainstorm with your the people within you, and like your customers, to be able to come up with these solutions, and then see how you can work with other social businesses to support what they're doing to be able to meet your needs. I think that's how we can kind of foster this. I think like the social business community in Malaysia is getting quite good at doing that, supporting each other and supporting each other's businesses. Because in the end we all need something, so where are we sourcing and how are we doing it? We might as well all lift each other up, right? So I think the social business community in Malaysia is a really good example of that. And I think that's how you can cater better to conscious consumers. And like you said repeatedly, meeting their need. There are so many things that I have to MacGyver um, throughout daily life just to be able to meet my needs as living zero waste. And if you could solve some of that problems with me, I can say like you've got a loyal customer in me, because you yeah, it's all about making life easier for people, right? Especially people who are trying to do better by the environment. And then a whole ripple effect happens, because your business becomes like a hub for communication and education, and your customers become like this ripple effect for you. Like, so many of the businesses that have been in the zero waste or low waste or environmental space, so much of it has been word of mouth, right? Like, so like the most common thing I get in my DMs on Instagram, or questions, is, hey, where do you refill this? Where do you refill that? Where do you buy this so that you don't incur the impact? How do you get this delivered to your house, but like with zero waste, or like blah, 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 all these kind of questions. So it's all like people are looking for those solutions. So just there's a whole lot of opportunity there for everyone here.
Thank you very much for that summary, Lisa. So for everyone who find that the discussion is beneficial, do share it with your friends and family. And if you do follow Melissa at IG, hey Melissa Tan. And for the viewers, I would like to invite you guys to be part of the conversation, part of the community. And in Facebook, we have the Green Design Malaysia, where we talk about all this issue and develop knowledge for the Malaysia, our basically local knowledge in terms of sustainability. And do continue the conversation offline with your friends, your family. We have audience from LinkedIn as well, with your business partner. Like Melissa said, it's about the communication. I think we need to convey what we're doing as well, and what believe in, so that we also resonate with our customer. So with that, I think we are at the end of the show. Thank you very much, Melissa, for coming in. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in, and have a green week ahead. Bye bye, everyone.